Hey everybody, Cannon here with More Technologies. In this video, we are going to go over the ultrasonic sensor and how to program it. To start, we've just got a blank sketch in Arduino Create, and we're going to go ahead and include the MOREbot library. So we're going to type hashtag include morbot.h. Next, we need to declare the MOREbot object. To do that, we type morbot bot, and then we have to have these exact numbers if you've been following our wiring tutorials. So 1, 4, A0, A1. Now, let's talk about what this is. When you say MOREbot bot, you're doing what's called declaring an object. It's not exactly important that you understand how this works and why, just that you have it. And the numbers that we've got in the parentheses essentially tell the Arduino what things you have wired into what parts of the Arduino. So if you look down, if we look at the statement, what we are declaring here is left motor pin. So we've got a left motor plugged into pin 1, then our right motor pin, which is plugged into pin 4 on the motor controller shield. Then we have the ultrasonic pin that's plugged into trig. And then we have the ultrasonic echo pin. Now, it's not important that you make this comment as well. And remember, this is a comment, so the Arduino is just not going to read this code because of these 2 slashes here. But it's just letting you know what this is. So now that we've got that done, we need to go ahead and type in bot.setup in this setup loop and serial.begin 9600. So what this bot.setup is doing is basically running a function that just gets our robot ready to where we can program it. And serial.begin is telling the Arduino what speed to talk at so we can print things out. So you might remember from the Hello World tutorial that we can do things like serial.println hello, and that'll print out and we can read it. We're actually going to be using that today to print out the distance that our ultrasonic sensor is seeing. So before we get started, it's a good idea to go ahead and double check. Make sure your wiring looks exactly like this. I'm not going to go over it right now in this, but the tutorial will walk you through it. So as long as your wiring looks like this, it should work fine. Let's just get right to it. So the main takeaway, the main thing you need to remember from this tutorial is the way to get the distance from your ultrasonic sensor is to type bot.read distance. This function right here handles everything that's involved with getting the distance from this sensor. Now, this will return a number, a float to be exact, in centimeters of how far away something is in front of the sensor. So you don't just use it standalone like this, though. What we would do is something like serial.println bot.read distance. Now, it's important that you don't forget these parentheses inside of this. And to the Arduino, to us, we see it should print out bot.read distance, just the text. But to the Arduino, it sees something different. The Arduino, whenever it comes across this right here, it actually runs a function that goes ahead, that checks the sensor distance value. So to the Arduino, this is just a number. So if we type this here, and we type delay 10, and this just helps with processing. You don't absolutely have to have it, but it's good practice. And we go ahead and upload to our Arduino. And remember, it'll tell you down here whenever it's done uploading. There we go, so it's done uploading. And now we're going to check the serial monitor. And in a second, it'll start printing out numbers. There we go. So I'm going to move my hand closer and further away. And you'll notice the numbers do the same. One thing to note is that this number is a decimal to 2 decimal places, and it's in centimeters. So if you did this and all you're seeing is -1 or zeros or anything like that, we'll talk about why that is. So right now you see how it went slower? The reason is there's nothing close in front of the sensor. Basically, whatever there is in front of it, it's just too far away for it really to sense it, So it's just doing these really random numbers that don't really make sense. Same thing if I get too close. It has a hard time when you get too close to it. So right now my hand's right up against it. But there's a range in which it can read and it's accurate. So what you might be seeing is something like this. So you notice the numbers got slower. And what I'm doing is switching the echo and trig numbers. So now all it's doing is just printing out random numbers. It's not working at all, even though my hand is in front of it. So there's something wrong. And the issue is the wires, these middle two, echo and trig, are switched right here. So if you wanted to fix this, you would just flip this wire and this wire. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and you'll notice that it fixes itself. This is the most common mistake because the wires are right by each other. It's a pretty easy one to make. So don't sweat it if you do. Just try that and see if that fixes it. Other things that might be wrong, if you don't have one of the power cables connected, it won't get power, so it can't perform the sensing. And another more dangerous issue is if you switched power and ground, 5-volt and ground, and if that happens, you could damage your ultrasonic sensor. So be really careful not to do that. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to using the ultrasonic sensor. It's just this function right here, bot.readDistance. Where it gets complicated is in the ways that we use this value, this number. And remember, this is just a number, so we could do other things like add 10 to it. I don't know why we'd want to do that, but this is just kind of representing that Arduino views it solely as a number. Sometimes the monitor port will say that it's unavailable when you upload. You can just click off it and open it back up, and it'll show. But yeah, now the numbers are +10. It's kind of hard for you to see that just because you can't see my hand moving, but that is what's going on. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. So yeah, overview from this. Make sure that when you declare the MOREbot object, you add A0 and A1 to the end. And then make sure that you use this function whenever you want to get the distance. All right, thank you for watching.